Welcome back to our Dementia Prevention Webinar Series sponsored by the University of Ottawa Brain and Mind Research Institute. And in this webinar today, Dr. Hakim is going to be talking about a growing societal and personal danger to our brain health, and that is obesity. We will learn how obesity does its damage to the brain and what conditions and what situations can bring on obesity. And finally, we'll learn how can we manage this risk to maximize our brain health. So let's listen to the webinar today, and I hope you really enjoy it.
I want to address today a condition that is really rampant in our society, but the reason we're going to talk about it is that it has a significant impact on our memory function, and that's obesity. Let me start by saying that I have full respect and support for every individual or patient or colleague or friend, regardless of their body shape. But the scientific consensus now is unfortunately very clear. Obesity is an illness with major health impact and major consequence to our cognitive function. Here is a study that shows in the United States what is going on with time. You have over here the years, and we have over here the percentage of US adults who are obese. And you can see that we're getting very close to every other individual in the US is suffering from obesity. And unless we start thinking, oh, you know, we don't have this problem in Canada, I thought that I would show you some Canadian data. And that is that between 2008 and 2013, approximately 7% of those under 18 months of age were classified as overweight or obese, and almost 20% were classified as having a risk of being overweight. In 2013, 28.4% of children aged 5 to 19 and 6% of children aged 0 to 5 were classified as overweight or obese. And remember that the shape of the body as children has a lot of impact and a lot of influence and determines frequently what the shape of the adult is going to be. The reason we're talking about this at all is that weight does impact cognition and memory function. Being overweight or obese at midlife independently increases the risk of dementia. And early life environmental factors, in addition to genetic inheritance, may contribute to the midlife overweight dementia association. So it's very, very important to realize that obesity has an impact on our cognitive function. In a study that was done that measured abdominal fat and looked at MRI size of the brain, there was a very clear relationship, a significant increase of abdominal, especially visceral fat, with total brain volume observed. The bigger the abdomen, the smaller the brain volume. So what obesity does is that it sends inflammatory molecules to our brain, and those interfere with the blood supply to the brain. Visceral fat is a source of inflammation. It promotes small vessel disease in the brain and leads to its shrinkage. Obesity, therefore, is a vascular risk factor in the same category as all of the other vascular risk factors you now know about, like high blood pressure, etc. So what do we know about the drivers of obesity and how can we counteract them? In this slide, it says very clearly that the better the quality of the food that you eat as a child, the less likely you are to be obese as an adult. And so if we're going to talk about food quality, what is it that defines food quality? Here is a picture that says, hey, this is good food quality. This is the Mediterranean diet picture, and it says that your diet should be full of vegetables and fruits, grain, fish rather than meat, certainly not bacon, but avoid as much as possible these other ingredients. And here's a picture of what constitutes a high quality diet. Subjects who adhere to this diet had a 33% less risk of dementia. Obesity has the additional complication of reprogramming the brain so that it prefers, the individual who has obesity prefers high calorie foods. There is also a problem with the way industry talks to the consumer. Here's a study that said that when young individuals in school were given a choice between looking at a sign that said that this drink bottle had 250 calories, they just picked it up and walked away with it. But when the sign said, if you consume this bottle of soft drink, you will have to walk 5 miles to neutralize the 250 calories that you're going to have consumed, the kids just walked away. So how we address this issue at an industrial level and at the consumer's level is very, very important and does have impact. Here's a very important study that really taught me a lot. I work at a busy hospital, and when I am there at lunch in the cafeteria, I frequently see a table of 6 or 7 or 8 people, and most of them have a small computer in their hands and they're looking at something while they are eating. This study was very important because it compared 2 groups of people eating the same thing. Well, one group was allowed to be distracted, and the other group had no opportunities to be distracted. They paid attention to what they were eating. In this study, the distracted individuals didn't remember what they ate. When they were finished, they felt less full. And when it was time for dessert, they ate a lot more dessert because they weren't feeling full, because they were distracted while they were eating. And computers, small and large, are now pervasive in our lives. And so we have to be very, very careful. Your brain wants to taste the food that you are eating. And if you eat it while you're thinking about something else, that's what it pays attention to. And so you don't feel as full if you are distracted while you're eating. Here are some attitudes and behaviors that promote a reduction in your weight if you decide that that's what you would like to do. We have to accept that if we are obese and we want to lose weight, this is going to take all of the determination that we can muster. It is not a simple goal. And the ultimate goal is not just to count calories, but it is to reprogram the brain. Your goal is to change your attitude towards food. So set yourself some realistic objectives and surround yourself with social support. It's very meaningful to you when your friend says, how are you doing with your weight loss program? Adhere to the Mediterranean diet, which is full of fruits and vegetables and fish and nuts. And stay away from bargain price buffets where you can eat all you want for the same price. That just awakens the monster in us. And so eat mindfully when you put food in your mouth, that is not the end. It is the beginning. Try to program yourself so that when you put food in your mouth, you're not immediately reaching for the next bite. Take your time to taste that food while you have your fork and your knife sitting calmly next to your plate. Taste that food, enjoy it before you reach for the next bite. This family is not eating mindfully. You can see how everybody is busy with something else while they're eating, except for this young person who's going to grow up and say, nobody talked to me while we were having lunch together. And so we are ending our webinar on obesity, but before I let you go, I wanted to remind you that we now accept that obesity is a vascular risk factor. We talked about other vascular risk factors like high blood pressure, and we talked about how all of these vascular risk factors have a negative impact on our memory function. But remember that there is also smoking and diabetes and high cholesterol that need to be controlled in order for us to maintain a normal memory function late into our old age. And so the take-home message for this webinar is obesity is a risk factor for dementia. What you eat as a child determines your food taste as an adult. So it's very important when you are responsible, taking care of your grandchild, to remember that saying, and eat. When you eat, pay attention to what you're doing, eat mindfully. Thank you very much. And next webinar, we're going to talk about the role of physical activity on memory function. Thank you.
If you'd like to learn more about resources available to you, please visit our partners at the Dementia Society of Ottawa in Renfrew County.
So I'd like to thank Dr. Hakim for a very interesting and informative webinar, and I hope everyone really enjoyed it. And at this point, I would like to thank our supporters and also acknowledge our partners. So the University of Ottawa Brain and Mind Research Institute is affiliated with and supported by the University of Ottawa and the associated faculties. We also have over 250 researchers, many of whom come from our partner institutions, including BHAW, the Briere Hospital, the Montfort Hospital, the Ottawa Hospital, and the Royal Institute of Mental Health Research. Finally, I would like to thank the Brain and Mind admin team for all the work and all their production efforts, including Natasha Hollywood, Victoria Rache, Candice Fortier, and Sarah Schock. So thank you so much. And finally, if you have questions for us, or if you have comments, or you'd like to follow us, please go to our website at uottawa.ca/brain, or follow us on Facebook or on Twitter. And many of you are with us today because you have lived experience with dementia. Like many of us, you have family members, friends, or relatives that are living with the devastating effects of dementia. And presently, there is no cure. So if you would like to make a difference and make a direct impact on the innovative research that we're doing at the University of Ottawa Brain and Mind Research Institute, please support our memory and cognition research today by going to the link alumni.uottawa.ca/brainhealth. So thank you for being with us, and we hope you join us again soon for upcoming webinars.